Okay, let's just check the volume levels. They're looking good. Although the audio mixer is not showing much from the sim, which is a bit odd. We'll see how we get on. So, missions. Actually, before we get going missions, let's go back to headquarters. And we'll go and look at specializations to show you where I've got to so far. I've hardly started with it, really. So there's a few have unlocked themselves. If we go and look in certifications, new aircraft, flyable for missions. So yeah, I went for the higher power aircraft. So I can do 172. I thought I had the 172 Skyhawk previously anyway, and the Corvallis. So that came about because of unlocking the high performance endorsement, which I recently did. I flew enough missions to get enough credits to be able to go and spend the money on it, basically. So we'll go for multi-engines and instruments and the rest of them fairly soon, and hopefully unlock some of the rest of it. But it means having to go grinding out the missions, which are really, really boring. But I thought if I take a few of you along for the ride with me, it might pass the time a bit. And has the missions gone wrong? Mission list. Oh, it's just looking at the ocean, that's all. No, the missions has gone wrong. Switch back to the world map. Back to HQ. So have I managed to break the game already before we've even gone into a mission? It would appear I have. That's great. I've broken the game before we've even got started. Let's come back out to the world map, then go back into career mode. See if it's going to behave itself. It was, here we go, it's working now. So as you can see, it's as glitchy as ever. So if we pull up the mission list, we get to see the value of them, and there's one there for 4,000. So if you put list mode on, you can look through them in order. I'm not sure if you can sort them, which is a bit of a pain. You have to sort. You have to scroll down. So there's a couple here for 4,000 feet. For 4,000. Whether I'll get 4,000 is another matter. You have to fly very smoothly to avoid penalties. Depends if it's using live weather, I suppose. So we'll just wait for the sim to load. Obviously, we're being restricted now by the speed of the servers. So I'm on a fiber internet connection, so it's not me. It's down to server data delivery speed. You can see it's bringing in the weather, so the servers are on a go slow this morning. It looks fairly, well, there's a few clouds outside. So I'm about, on this map here, I'm about here somewhere. So it depends where the flight is from and to. It's probably somewhere else in Europe, even though the simulator has loaded in, or says it's loading in. It hasn't actually done anything yet. This is the longest wait I've seen in some time, actually. Whether this means they're doing something at the back end of the simulator, I don't know. So we have an animated spinning circle at the bottom right, which usually means it's streaming data. It's taking a very long time to do it. So I'll take the opportunity while we're waiting for it to get my controls in the right places. Okay, this is not looking good, is it? If it doesn't load in the next few moments, I'll restart the entire simulator. This is unusual. Usually missions are pretty faultless. Let's just make sure I haven't got a network connection issue. Nope. The Wi-Fi connection to the router is fine. How strange. Maybe there is a server issue, and that's what was going on with the mission list not coming up. It's odd that this hasn't gone straight down to the airport where we're supposed to be operating from. This is very, very strange. I'm wondering if there's something going on with the servers today, because, yeah, let's come back out of here. So the missions, yeah, look at the speed they're appearing. They were appearing in stutters, and the mission list is still here. So let's do this again. It's a much slower animation than normal, and you don't normally see these tiles. This is the back end going over again, isn't it? Very, very odd. So I can accept the mission. There's obviously something going on. This is the weirdest thing with this new world of games that are client server, essentially, and more server than client, is you are entirely dependent upon the other end being okay. So it's loaded in, look, so there's our aeroplane. Here's the mission criteria. We get lots of experience points for it, apparently. 4,000 credits on the contract, so we'll go flight. I'll have to double check the controls for the aeroplane. I'm not sure if we've used the aeroplane before. Okay, so simulator's loaded in. Look, is spawning people on the ground as we look at it. Horizon Airlines Cargo. So you wouldn't think of a Cessna as being a cargo airplane, would you? You'd think more either a caravan or, oh, let me go and turn the head tracking off. So we need to go and remove the chocks because that's part of the mission. We can do Alt-N, look, and skip to taxi, so it won't judge us on it. So we'll just wait for that to happen. And we'll press Alt-7. Before he says anything about that, I'm going to make sure I've got the correct control configuration. So we're looking at the throttle quadrant. It has got basic throttle and propeller, which is good. Though we probably want throttle and mixture, don't we, on a Cessna? And then the pilot controls, so the joystick, we want to make sure that we got, yeah, basic stick profile, save and back. Okay, so we don't really need to reference anything because it will put rectangles in the sky and all kinds of things. So we press enter to request taxi clearance. They've even put this in, Alt-N to skip to takeoff, so we don't even have to taxi. So once you've done a few missions, although you have to step through each of these bits. Okay, so press enter to request takeoff clearance. So there's the runway over there. So 07 will be about an 80 or 110 degrees right turn. You're not allowed to taxi too fast, otherwise it penalises you for it. I'm not sure if the missions actually control the weather to set you different weather conditions for difficulty. Take off from runway 07. Okay, so flat out. Don't need flaps for takeoff in the 172 on a runway. So we're not doing a short field takeoff. Just hold it on the center line with a little bit of right rudder. Rotate at about 55 to 60 knots. And climb out. Climb to 750 feet initially. Within the first 2 miles by the look of it. So I think it's about 70 knots is about optimum climb speed in a 172. So we do get the boxes in the sky to fly through. It really does dumb it down to a hilarious degree, doesn't it? And yeah, look, we've climbed too high already. So it expects us to be at 750, even though we're climbing up to 1800. But if we don't fly through the boxes, we get penalised for it. So we'll probably get penalised on not following the flight path absolutely perfectly, which is ridiculous, but we're playing the game. It's not a simulated mission. We're not sinking anymore. You stupid system. Have I actually broken the aeroplane? Are we really going to have to put up with that? Oh no, it's shut up now. So as soon as we get into a stable climb at our cruise altitude, or get to our cruise altitude, we'll be able to shortcut to approach immediately. So you should see, as soon as we get anywhere near 1800 feet altitude, that the it will say, do we want to press Alt and N? So I'm just trimming us out. The airplane's trying to rotate left gently. That would either just be torque or wind on the tailplane doing that. A lot of people think that's wrong when that happens. No, it's realistic. Alt and N, hurrah. We can skip straight to the approach. The missions are ridiculous, aren't they? It's basically a takeoff and approach mission, and trying to do it somewhat smoothly. Okay, so the weird thing here is if we go and look at the map and zoom out, which I think we can do somehow over here. Oh, we can use the mouse, can't we, the mouse wheel. This will make no sense usually, but this time it actually looks like it does. So we're going to go around to the right and then follow a square pattern in for landing. And you can see that's what this is doing in the sky. It's sometimes hard to make out the path you should be following. So we can press Enter to acknowledge handoff. So we just fly down through the pattern. Should we have a look outside? See what we look like. The scenery looks nice, doesn't it? But yeah, this is a little bit ridiculous, having to fly through rectangles for all the missions. Oh, so skipping deducts experience. to be honest. I don't really mind. Does it deduct credits as well? So Charlie's saying you don't get penalised for not flying through the boxes. They're just there to help. So does that mean I can completely avoid them and just go straight for approach? Rather than flying the pattern? Because if not, I'll just go, well, we'll try it. Okay, so we need to go to the final marker. So we may as well just fly straight there and do a Spitfire approach then. As long as we don't overspeed the aeroplane. So let's... Oh, this is en route to it anyway. But what we could do then is ignore the box pattern. We're going to go absolutely flat out across the countryside. Get to the right sort of altitude for the final approach. We'll ignore the box pattern and see what happens. As per usual, here we go. We're turning this into a test activity. Yeah, so it doesn't ever signify that you've flown through the rectangles, does it? Do they stay there? They disappear as you fly through them, don't they? But I'm not going to bother with them. So there's the runway. So if we go out to the right of the final marker and then fly back through it, just to get ourselves somewhere near the approach direction. And ignore the pattern entirely. Okay, so as long as we stay away from the airport as we go towards the final marker, we'll be fine. Okay, let's get some speed off. So coming through final, which will trigger announcing finals, which triggers the music. So again, as soon as we get onto the runway, I think we can press Alt-N again to skip through. Okay, zero the throttle. Can we Alt-N at this point, or do we have to go to the hold short? So flaps up. We never even went high enough to lean the mixture out, did we? If you taxi too fast, obviously. Although I think you're allowed to go high-speed taxi on the runway. It's only on the taxiways that it starts to take notice of how fast you were rolling. So you can do high-speed taxi for a backtrack, for example. There we go. We can press Alt-N at this point. Control-Shift-E will shut the airplane down. And we get a mission success. Hurrah! Wasn't exactly difficult, was it? Fly from A to B. Oh, we got a D. Oh, no. No. I got a C. What did I get marked down for then? Ensure cargo integrity. That'll be the steep bank into the turn. Interesting. So does that mean I get next to no money for it? Yeah, it was supposed to have been 4,000 credits. Mind you, the company takes nearly all of your takings anyway, doesn't it? So let's do the next one accurately and see what happens, yeah? So missions. So rather than cutting corners off and flying off and doing what we want to shorten up the process. So if we pull the mission list out, I'm not doing a sightseeing because they're annoying. We'll do a plane homecoming, so which is basically a ferry flight, I guess. Needs his freshly repaired aircraft back to him near Coventry. This client is very picky. Make sure your landing is spot on. He might be on site. Yeah, they always say that. Accept. So we'll fly this one all the way through. God, that means you have to spend hours playing it to get any money, which will take ages if you're not allowed to skip. So last time our credits got absolutely decimated because we took all the shortcuts. So this time we'll fly the whole flight, which will mean an incredibly boring trip through a number of rectangles. Yeah, so the weather is completely different again. Look, let's see if it's different once we jump in the aeroplane. So we're going to do everything this time then. Unfortunately, it's not everything because you don't start the airplane up accurately at all. I wonder if it will mark it though. So it's just going to remove the pitot covers. So press Shift and C. So rather than skip to taxi, let's do this somewhat correctly. So inside the aeroplane, we're going to go and do it properly. Battery on. Alternator on. Standby battery on. And we'll go and put the beacon light on. And we'll put the fuel pump on for a couple of seconds. So make sure we've got rich mixture. We have. Crank the throttle open. The pump can come back off. Put nav lights on as well while we're doing this. And then we'll go for both tanks. So we've got the engine running. Okay, so talk about being impatient. Okay, 1000 RPM. Oh, we're not going to announce taxi yet because we're not ready. We're not going to release the parking brakes yet because we're not ready. We are going to put the taxi light on. We're going to go and turn the avionics on, which we have not done yet. So avionics buses. There's not much in the way of interior lights in the Cessna, is there? Can we turn this up? Oh, I turned it the wrong way. I think it was already on max. It's pretty pathetic, the internal lighting. So let's turn that on. It's got the flight plan already in there, but we're just going to be flying through rectangles again, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so if we go in the outside view, have we already got the so it won't show us the taxiway until we announce it. So let's go and announce taxi, and there it goes. Look. So release the parking brake, and we just taxi out to hold short now. Did I put the taxi light on? Yeah, I did. It's a bit dim, isn't it? They don't have to choose their weather. So we'll just use the mission steps as our guidance of what to do next or what the game wants you to do next, but we'll fly it properly. See, the crazy thing is normally you'd go to autopilot, but then if you're having to fly through boxes, you'll be using the just heading track mode, I guess. Okay, this is it. Go across the taxiway to the hold short box. Go very slowly into the hold short box so we don't overrun it, and brakes on. So what does it want us to do next? Announce takeoff. So we need to go and put the landing lights on, strobes on, and the pitot heat. It doesn't test any of this, by the way, and it wants us to go this way. So runway 26. So that's the runway that points to 6. So we're backtracking and then turning around. So now it wants us to follow this specific backtrack route, which we will do. Meanwhile, we're wiping out all of the lights. Just seeing if I can hack this into turning. Yeah, I can. Okay, here we go. Hold the center line. Torque is pulling us quite a bit left. There's hardly any wind. Yeah, the windsock's dangling, look. 55 knots and rotate gently. Hold runway direction. Climb out, looking for about 70 to 75 knots for optimal climb on a Cessna, I think. It wants us to get to at least 800 feet, and then it will give us further instruction, I guess. Okay, so get ready for this to change. There it goes. Climb to 1800 feet, but I'm going to make sure I fly through the boxes in order to do that. So we'll keep a wide berth of this corner radius. I wonder if it scores you of how close you are to the center of each box. So now we have to just sit here and fly through the boxes to avoid losing money, basically. Fun, fun, fun. Do you know what, though? I'm tempted to go and set the autopilot properly to do it for us, which is not in the instructions of the missions or the training, but there we go. It's so dark in this cockpit, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I've got the floodlights on overhead, and it's still not helping. So let's go and set altitude to 1800, wasn't it, we're supposed to be at? We'll probably get penalised for deviating from 1800 by 100 feet. Busy trying to trim it so I can at least get to the altitude knob. Okay. So autopilot on. And we're going to say altitude. Hold. Go that way, you stupid machine. Oh, crap. I'm going to have to turn the autopilot off. I forgot that I can't turn... Because for some reason, Coronado have taken it upon themselves in these default aircraft, or a Sobo, that you have to press both mouse buttons on the heading knob these days to get it to center, which I've just done. Hopefully I don't get penalised for that off-track excursion for 30 seconds. Probably will. That's probably £1,000 gone. So, obviously we had a bit of a deviation there. So, autopilot back on. We're at 1900 feet, should be at 1800. Autopilot's on, heading mode is on. We're going to be playing silly games. We're trying to get this to follow that track. Do you know what? I'm going to leave this flying at the height it's at. And look, it's going off to that side now. We're going to have to just keep adjusting this because the GPS route is not right in the middle of the route we should be, I don't think. I think the GPS route is way off to this side of the boxes. If you go and zoom in, yeah, look, the GPS track is over there somewhere, which would take us out of the boxes. And that will be because it's the direct line between. It hasn't got the corners marked into it. And we've got a crosswind going on, because look at the tail wagging. We can actually see wind, can't we? PFD options, wind. Yeah. It's only a 5 knot tailwind, look, but it's enough to make the aeroplane wag around. Let's open the engine up a little bit. So we just sit here and do nothing now for the next however long it takes to get to Coventry. So Rob is saying, the boxes aren't for you, they're for Joe Xbox. Okay, should we just put it on the GPS line then? So, nav. So obviously we need to go and put ourselves closer to the line. So we're going to deviate away from the boxes. And when we get close enough, GPS will take over from heading mode. So the CDI is coming in. And there it goes. It's just switched over. Look, it's going to capture. Should we change the display on this to show aircraft up? I'm going to have to get rid of this out of the way because I can't get to the controls. That's interesting because that didn't work. That worked. Okay. And then if we increase the range on this, there's our destination. So we could just turn those boxes off then, as somebody said in the live stream. So Jeff's saying we've been trying to tell him for the last half an hour. Unfortunately, I'm looking at the screen though, and not looking at the laptop alongside with the live stream chat. So a lot of the time when it looks like I'm not responding to what you're saying, it's because I'm not seeing what you're writing until I have a chance to look down. Or, to look away from the screen. What a horrible day to go flying. Okay, what's with the blinky lights reflecting in the glass? What on earth? Unless there's an alien spaceship outside that I haven't seen. Will the sim rate affect the score? I think I've got time to go make a cup of tea, haven't I? Which I'm going to go and do. So let's turn head tracking off and then press backspace. And we can watch as it has sent me to Coventry. So yeah, I'll be back in a moment. I'm just going to go make a drink. Hello, I'm back. So let's have a quick look at the sim rate settings. So in the controls and keyboard, I think I've already set it up, to be honest. So on keyboard presets, I've got basic keyboard set up. Let's put rate into the search. Sim rate. Select sim rate. Use plus and minus keys. So Alt-R. Okay, so this is a new thing for me. So we've got increase. Why are there 3 settings? Why is there increase and decrease if sim rate somehow does it as well? So you hold Alt and R on and then use plus and minus. Yeah, because I'm just reading the live stream chat. Unless you keep count or you have a clock in the airplane to look at, you have no way of knowing what the sim rate is. It's been something they've never fixed. So if I use control, let me just check that again. Settings, controls, rate, sim rate, Alt and R. Okay, go back, back. Alt R plus 2, 3, 4 times sim rate. Oh, we have some sunshine on the other side of the cloud bank. So we'll get to a few miles out. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we should be back to normal now. So let's have a look inside. Have we got a clock anywhere? There's someone down here, isn't there? 1001. That's correct. Oh, hello, someone's come to the door now. Are the kids going to go and answer it? Is the question. I'll just go and have a look. No, apparently I don't need to answer the door. This is the problem if ever I stream anything online during the daytime. So, looking on the map, can we see where finals will be? I'm going to go back to heading mode then and put us back through the arrows. Oh, I thought I'd put us on heading mode. There we go. Let's put ourselves on an intercept angle back to the arrows, or sorry, the boxes, I should say. And we're still being waggled around by the wind. Option 3, yep. So let's come back out of here. We never turned our landing lights off, but it doesn't really matter. It was a gloomy day. Let's use that as our excuse. And we need to be a couple of degrees the other side of the track because we've got a crosswind of 5 knots. Press enter to contact the arrival airport. Okay, so where the hell do we enter this sequence of boxes? I'm guessing up here. That's the only place that makes any sense. Follow traffic pattern. I've seen this once before where it's not obvious at all which rectangle is that must be the start one because it's at the altitude we're at, but it makes no sense at all. So we're going to go down in a box shape around the airport, around the outside of the airport. So let's turn the autopilot off. I'll just fly it from here. And shift space, Alt 7, or 8, and then sit up so I can actually see over the nose. Head tracking does give you an enormous advantage, I'll have to say. So we're just going to follow the traffic pattern now. Let's see if it penalises us, or see what it penalises us for. See, look at these rectangles, they're so off-putting. So it's going to fly us around in a loop. Is that actually marked? Oh, it is. It is bizarre though, I've never seen a pattern done like that, ever. Not in the real world, at least. I mean, normally you just do an overhead join and come in. You know, so coming in from this angle, or you would fly outside of the pattern and come in towards it, but not overlap it. This is craziness. At least this is making sense. I've seen this drawn on the map a couple of times on the early missions that I did, and it bore no relation to the rectangles in the sky at all. Let's just come back off the speed a little bit. And fly the rectangles. Next one's over there. Let me go off to the right. Yeah, so someone's saying it's not a normal pattern in the US. It's not a normal pattern in the UK either. You would normally just do an overhead join onto the pattern and drop down onto it. I know because I've got the books on the shelf next to me. I've read them about the standard traffic patterns. Obviously, you look at the charts. So some airfields do have it marked on the chart where how would you put it? The specified entry points into the pattern are. And then again, normally there'll be like 45-degree entry points on the outside of the pattern. Okay, we need to bleed some of this speed off. Almost down to flap speed. Should we come in on the pappies this time and ignore the rectangles? Oh, I wonder if I'll get a warning because of the stall. Probably. Although technically, you're supposed to do that. You hold it just off and let the aircraft stall that last tiny bit. So flaps can come back up while we're traveling. The landing lights can come off. The strobes can come off. Well, it should have done. And just double clicked it by accident. See, we've gone beyond the hold short line. Makes you wonder what the simulator's playing at. Could we park far enough away, do you think? See, it's weird, isn't it? Although the game lets you shortcut all sorts of things, there's lots of things you would have thought they would have in it. Maybe there will be a further license, like a pro license, maybe, where they check for procedural stuff, like lights being on at the appropriate times and things like shutting the airplane down, of like starving the mixture to empty the fuel lines and things like that, so you don't end up with fuel stuck in the lines while the airplane's parked for, potentially for days. Parking brake on. Oh, it's finished the mission already. I hadn't finished turning it off. You still left the batteries on. It's going to go flat, you stupid simulator. And we got a B. What did we get marked down for then? Landing smooth. Yeah, I came in a little bit hard. So I lost a huge chunk then just for not rotating enough. But then AVA performance gave me 100. What it was marking, we will never know. Okay. So what does the performance detail do? Radio comms. Oh, this is just notes. So, okay. So crash. Yeah, we didn't crash. Don't stray from the mission objectives. Landing smoothness. So low vertical speed. Yeah, but it doesn't say about it going too smooth, does it? I wonder if it will do that on the bigger aeroplanes, where you're not allowed, or you shouldn't land too smoothly. You have to plant them. Once you get, like, the multi-wheel trucks, you can get oscillations if you land too smoothly in the real thing. Undesignated landing area, so land somewhere you shouldn't have. Aircraft stress limit, okay, you rip the wings off, or the flaps. Flaps extended max, okay, there's a separate penalty. Max speed, obviously. Smoke avoidance, avoid flying through smoke. Oh, that'll be for the fire missions, I guess, because, yeah, you'll starve the engines of oxygen. Cloud avoidance, avoid flying through clouds during VFR, okay. Prohibited airspace. Avoid and fly. I guess that for like this mission we just did, if I'd climbed too much and gone into the cloud, I would have been told off for it. Because I don't have the IFR license in the game yet. Prohibited airspace. Avoid and fly around prohibited areas. So that hasn't actually told us about that yet, has it? It didn't say anything about any areas on the map that we should stay away from. Maybe they're already factored into the missions it gives you. You know, like firing ranges or airports, you know, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it does with that. Fuel minimums, landing lights on it. Landing lights on, night takeoff. I love the way that's written. Runway excursion. Don't know, most people just call them mishaps these days. Here you go, shooting off across the grass. Oh, we got a lot more money. Very good. So I've got a bonus, no skip bonus. Oh, you get a huge no skip bonus. Whoa, look at that, 20,000 base income. What the hell does that mean? Mission reward, 5% for each mission. It wasn't a special mission. New level reached, level 14. Hurrah! Still can't afford to do anything, really. Let's go and have a look. Certifications. This will cost 15,000. Oh, my word. Instrument rating. 10,000. Oh, my word. Night currency. 7,500. Oh, my word. You would think instrument would be, oh, maybe it is supposed to be before, but you'd think night would be more expensive than instrument, wouldn't you? Or maybe I would. The stupid thing is I can fly the heavies accurately. So all this stuff is just in my way. So in order to get a company, what do you have to do then? So I can see companies as here. I can't click on it. Specializations, I think these are just things you've unlocked basically, aren't they? Should we just go and do another mission? Have a look at the mission list, see what's next. Or is there anything a bit more? I'm not doing taking photographs. That seems like a total and utter waste of time. Does skydiving pay much? Some of the missions are in bizarre corners of the world, aren't they? Yeah, like this one. Aerial advertising. I need to do a specialization for it first. So I'm stuck doing missions for ages by the look of it. Anyway, let's go and pull up the mission list. So there's one that's appeared now for 4,500. Commodity transports, that's cargo. Flying a Corvallis to its new owner. That's only 2,200. There's another one for 4,000. Air freight. Oh, standard air freight, 5,300. So if we do that accurately and smoothly and nicely, we could get lots of money. How far was it? Is it going to draw it for us on the map? 75 miles. That's not very far, is it? Does it tell us which aeroplane we're using? So, accept mission. It looks like it's just a little Cessna, if that picture represents it. Standard air freight destination, Reichelsheim. 。 Okay. So could we get to see the route here? So straight out northeast, and then typical pattern. So let's go flight. Make sure my controls are in the starting positions. A swig of coffee, very important. Oh, well, forklift has just arrived to put something on a Cessna. That seems a bit over the top, seeing as a Cessna can't carry much more than a couple of people's worth of weight. And here I come. I need to change my clothes, don't I? He looks like a complete slob. Although the glasses are similar to mine, the face isn't. Okay, let's go and do our very high quality walk around, where we don't look at anything around the panels of the airplane. We don't wiggle any of the... See, we should be really doing all of this. Making sure the lights aren't broken, giving the control surfaces a waggle. It doesn't tell you off for not doing this, but you can go do it. Make sure the rudder can't be wobbled, and it's not going to even let us try and do that. We shouldn't be able to waggle the flaps. And I think it's actually got something around checking the condition of the foot pegs as well. See, in the real thing, although this lets you do it, yeah, you can pull this out. There's no reason. It's just it's textured to look like that. It's not going to get low.
Someone is at the front door.
I don't know how to put it back in now. This is the only problem. Do we have to click the top of it? Okay. What do we click on to make it close? I've gone and pulled it out. I wished I hadn't done that now. Where's the click spot? Oh, it's there. That was highly intuitive, wasn't it? But in the real thing, there's a couple of places you check sumps on a Cessna. One of them's that side. The other one is here. And then there's another one under the wing there for the fuel tank to make sure there's no water in the fuel. We haven't removed the static port cover. It's a good job that popped up there. But yeah, in the real thing, some of the other third-party airplanes have actually got the whole testing the fuel with a little, it's like a little bottle with a straw and a siphon on it. So, okay. So should we do this ourselves again, just because it's a bit more fun if we actually have to go and do things. Okay, so battery on. Alternator can come on straight away. You go and put the nav lights on to tell people around the airplane we're inside it doing stuff. Put the beacon light on before we start the engine. We press comma. Apparently it's 2992 outside, which is highly unbelievable, but there we go. So rich on the mixture, both on the fuel tanks. The shut-off is pushed in, so we should be able to turn the engine over. So even I'm sure everybody thinks their shipment is important. It's got to do it promptly. It's Amazon, isn't it? They look like they've been thrown in. Thank you very much. Okay, taxi lights on. And we won't do a pitot and strobes and landing lights until we get to the runway, even though I'm not sure this even counts any of that stuff. So we'll say okay to taxi clearance, and it will give us some arrows, hopefully. Why have we got two? Is it really not going to help us? Oh, we have to acknowledge taxi clearance. Okay, where have the taxi things gone? There is a keyboard shortcut for it, isn't there? So I may have removed it. Let's go and have a look. Keyboard, taxi. Toggle taxi lights. No, that'll be the actual ribbon. There it is. So I've got nothing set for it. It's in assistances, isn't it? Taxi ribbons. Yeah, it's on, but it isn't showing us them anymore. Okay, we'll just taxi off towards the hold short and see how we get on. So come off the parking brake. And we are heavy. It's hardly moving at 50% throttle. So we'll go to take off on the flaps. We're going to use flaps for this takeoff because we're expecting to be a bit heavier than normal. I'm guessing it's not actually tracking which taxiway we're taking, seeing as it doesn't track your route through the air either, really. Oh, see, look, I've been done for taxiing speeding. I was doing like 5 miles or 10 miles an hour, and I've been done for it. So we're going to stay at walking pace and fall asleep in our chair. So that's probably cost me how many hundred? It is absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? So we're going to spend 10 minutes. Can you imagine taxiing at this speed at somewhere like Denver International when you've got like 1.5 miles to taxi? Although you wouldn't be there in a Cessna, I guess, but even so, if it's going to do this with the heavies, it's going to be a nightmare.
Daddy.
Apologies for that. Yeah, so Dave says kids first there on the live stream. She's not a kid anymore. She's 19. She'll be 20 in January. She only calls me daddy when it's the most embarrassing time to do it. So she picks her moments. The rest of the time, I'm dad or oi or him or where is he? Okay, so we've stopped at the hold short. We have to remove our finger off the brake, don't we?
Luxembourg Tower Cessna, Lima X-ray. Golf November Bravo ready at runway 06 east departure. Cessna Lima X-ray. Golf November Bravo, QNH 101 tree. Departure to the east approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 06. Cleared for takeoff runway 06 Cessna Golf November Bravo.
So the runway Do I use head tracking? Yes, I'm using a Tobii Eye Tracker, which frees my hands up so I can just turn my head to orient the camera. So aid my visibility around the cockpit. So we're not going to get going just yet, because we're going to go and put the landing lights on, the strobe lights on, pitot heat on. I'm going to do this properly, unlike the instructions. Full throttle. So we have to fly smoothly because of the cargo. So we're going to be a bit heavier, so we're going to go for maybe 60 knots before we rotate, or even attempt to rotate. I've got first stage of flaps as well. Flaps up. So 1,700 feet on the climb. We're already quite high altitude on the ground there. So yeah, we just follow the boxes, look. So let's bring the engine back. $2,400 RPM is about the maximum we can get away with by the look of it. I'm not going high enough to have to lean the mixture out. Going to push it on a little bit. Coming up towards 2,600. Let's go and get the altitude ready before we get there. And the heading bug. So if we just trim this for the climb. Oh, the trim control in this is hilariously bad. So autopilot, heading. I've said heading. What's it doing? There we go. It's coming back. Why has it put some music on? And there's 2,600 feet. Even though this arc goes higher than 2,600 by the look of it, but that's what we were commanded to fly at. So that's what we're going to fly at. So again, we're going to ignore the boxes until we get closer and go nav mode on the autopilot. So you can see the airplane is going to skew to the right to follow the GPS track, which took no notice of the climb out basically, or the descent. So it's now putting itself on an intercept towards the GPS track, which is ridiculous, but we'll go with it because it will come closer to the track as we get there. I wonder if that autopilot turn was too steep for the cargo and it's made up G limits. Okay, so while we're flying en route, I'm going to try this without any acceleration for a few minutes. I'm going to step away. I need to help with something at home. I'll be back in a little while. We've got a hell of a long distance to go. So I'll be back in a minute. Actually, just before I do go, I've just seen Rob's comment there about OpenTrack with the Tobii. You don't have to use OpenTrack with the Tobii. I've written a blog post about it. Go and have a look on my blog. Okay, I'm back. So the latest drama was finding the right flat battery to put in the controller for the Christmas tree lights, because the kids and my other half are decorating up the lounge as we speak. So obviously any kind of Chinese-made Christmas lights get a remote control with them, with some funky battery that no one's ever sold in the Western world. So yeah, we're now going to have to go into the shop in town maybe to see if we can find some battery that will work. Just reading back through the... Yeah, so in live stream comments, I've got the Tobii working perfectly. I say perfectly, I can't modify it in the sim. You have to modify the XML file. But the only easy way of finding that XML file is to modify or to duplicate the Tobii profile, rename it, and then that gives you the last modified file. So then you exit the sim, go to where you know the profile files are, and you can find it and replace its contents. And the community has figured out what some of the axes mean. So you can zero out the eye tracking axes, and you can turn on the Z axis, which is your how close or further away you are from the screen. So Alt R 1, 2, 3, 4 presses of plus, and we go whizzing across the landscape to Reichelsheim. And we're going to hit some windmills in a moment by the look of it, or very close past to some windmills. Why is Reichelsheim jumping up and down? How do I get rid of the top left compass? Go back to normal time so I can have time to explain this to you. So if you press escape in the simulator and go to settings, and I'm going to forget where this is myself now, you've got the flight interface section. In flight interface, you've got HUD in cockpit view and HUD in external view. Just turn it off. Okay. And that gets rid of all that rubbish around the edge of the screen. So, Alt R, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 is not quite as jerky, is it? If we go to 4 times, it goes really super jerky on the animation. So we'll leave it as it goes. Whizzing across the... I'm presuming we are in Germany. The German countryside. Germany's very flat, isn't it? I guess that's why they have such a huge agricultural industry. I remember when I first worked in Germany, I've been over there quite a bit over the years. I was absolutely fascinated in the supermarket with how many different types of milk they had. Because in the UK, milk is, or historically, has been very much controlled by the government. So you've got the Milk Marketing Board, which I think its name has changed over the years, but in Germany, that's not so much the case. So you get different farms advertising their particular brand of milk, but there's lots and lots and lots of choices. Like the number of choices in Frankfurt to buy milk were almost as many as to buy wine. It was absolute madness, or it was in the supermarket I was looking in anyway. So the Gigliotti is saying, how do you get the autopilot to follow the magenta flight plan on the EFB in career mode? I guess I need to do a video on the autopilot again, don't I? Because I'm just using the autopilot as designed. If I press OR 1, 2, 3, so we're going normal speed again. Let's have a look. This is the G1000. It's going to be different for every type of airplane, every different type of avionics suite. So this is a Garmin G1000. There are the buttons to control the autopilot in its various modes. and the mode you are in is reflected in the top center of the screen. So you can see at the moment I am in GPS mode, which means when you do a career mission, your flight plan is already on the it's already programmed in. So if you go and look in the flight plan page, you can see there's our plan from ELLX to EDFB. So these codes, if you weren't aware, are what's called the ICAO codes, the identifying codes for the airports you're flying from and to. And the aircraft in its avionics suite has a database of them, so you can program this by hand. I've done videos on it on the G1000. I've also got some downloadable PDFs with all the different facets of the GPS, you know, what you can do in it, how to program airways and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so when you do a career mission, the point-to-point route appears to automatically be put in here for you. So it's already been programmed. So when you're flying the aeroplane, when you first put the autopilot on, unless you've told it anything else, it will go to roll and pitch hold mode. In other words, at the point you switch it on, it will hold the aircraft at the attitude it was when you switched it on. If it's within a degree or two of being level or of being, so level in roll or pitch, it will go to to level in roll or pitch, even though it will say roll on the left and pitch on the right. Yeah, so if I turn the autopilot off, and if we press, I'm going to have to be careful. Look, the wind's going to start moving us around immediately. You can actually show the wind. Where is it? There we go. Oh, I say the wind's moving us around. That was just the talk of the propeller moving us around then, because the wind's 0 knots. Anyway, sorry, got sidetracked. So initially, before you've pressed any of the other buttons, the aeroplane will go into roll and pitch hold. Okay. If you are showing a green arrow on the compass at the bottom of the G1000, you will also see it either says lock or VOR here. So press CDI, which means course deviation indicator. And that will change this from being green to magenta, and magenta means it's actually reflecting the flight plan. Yeah, if it was green, it's reflecting the navigation radios, which you don't want if you're wanting to follow the flight plan. So the CDI is this line in the middle. That's what it really means. And if it's to the left of the big arrow, it means we are to the right of the course. Yeah, so you think about your little aeroplane in relation to this bar. So if the bar goes off to the left, it means you are to the right of the track. If it goes off to the right, it means you're to the left of the track. But obviously, if you press the autopilot button and you press the nav button, the mode will change from roll to GPS, and the autopilot will chase the route if it's in nav mode. So if I press nav again, look, it goes to roll. So it's just keeping the wings level. If I press nav again, it goes to GPS, which means it's tracking the line. If you're too far away from the line, it won't do it. It won't turn towards it. So you might have to combine using heading mode. So then you can roll the heading bug, and you can see me rolling it, and you can see the marker moving. So if we went a little bit off to the left so it doesn't go too mad, and we went heading mode, the airplane is gently moving to center up the bug. If we want to go up into the rectangles, now we're getting a bit closer, we might as well do this as a bit of an exercise, haven't we? We can set the target altitude. So we probably want to go to about 2,900 feet or 3,000 feet maybe to get up to these boxes. So I've set the target, but I've not told the autopilot how to get there. So if I go vertical speed mode, and you can see it's changed, and I press the nose up button, you'll see it changes in hundreds of feet. And it is also reflected here, and you can see the vertical speed moving around as it tries to do it. We can also change that heading mode back a bit. Look, a few more degrees back to our course. So you can use heading mode and vertical speed mode. The vertical speed mode will automatically zero itself when you reach your target altitude. So this will keep climbing to 3,000 feet. Let's just turn a few more degrees right. Yeah, so I've got the autopilot on. I'm doing nothing to do with the track. Yeah. The track is slightly off to our left. It doesn't reflect where these boxes are at all. You can see here, look, this is saying we're off to the left of the track, which doesn't agree with that. That's saying, oh, sorry, no, yeah. The track is off to our right, which is the same as we see here. If we zoom in, there's the track, look, to our right. And you can see the line is off to our right. If we press nav or GPS, because we're fairly close to it, it's turning to center that up all on its own. If we had not been close to it, it wouldn't have done it. And you can see we got to 3,000 feet and the vertical speed mode has cancelled itself and it's gone to altitude hold mode. You can actually force altitude hold at whatever altitude you're at by pressing the Alt button. Okay. So if we go back to heading mode and we turn a little bit left, we're still a little bit below, look. So let's go and change our target altitude up another couple of hundred feet to 3,200 feet. We have to tell the airplane how to get there. So we'll go vertical speed mode and nose up to 500 feet a minute. So you can see the nose comes up, vertical speed. There's our target vertical speed. There's our actual vertical speed. And we're in heading mode, look, so it's chasing the heading bug, not the course. I just want to get us back into these boxes before we get anywhere near Reichelsheim. So it's just leveling back out, look, and you'll see it's gone to altitude hold mode. It's flashing to tell you it's changed modes. So, flight level change mode. Does the Cessna have it? I don't think it does it? So we've got approach mode, back course, vertical speed. Oh, we have got flight level change. Okay. So let's try it. So we'll go for 3,500 feet. It differs on different airplanes what it will actually mean. Usually, I think in the Cessna, it will take the speed you are at. Then therefore, you would have to give extra power. So if I pull the power back a little bit, and then we set our target altitude to 3,500 feet. Yeah, oops, so 35. Yeah. So then we'll go flight level change mode to get there. And yes, look, a marker has appeared. So then we can go give the airplane more power. And it is climbing to hold the speed at the point we switched on flight level change mode. But I don't think we get a controller to control the speed. Unless nose up, nose down will do it. Oh, yes, it does. So given the amount, so you have to know what your airplane's capable of. So I deliberately pulled the power back, pressed flight level change, and then increased the power, which gave me climb rate because it held the speed at which we commanded it. But so nose up, nose down actually changed the target airspeed. So for a given airplane, within a particular atmospheric conditions, you'll have a best climb rate. So you could set the climb rate to the best climb rate. Why is everybody typing sounds? Where is your sound, Jonathan? I thought it's something wrong on my side. That's a really... Oh, so yes, you really are not getting any sound. Can you hear it now? Apologies. something had, probably me by accident, had moved the desktop audio. I've noticed that, do that the other day. There may be something mapped in OBS that's changing the desktop audio then. I've noticed this a few times. The classic that used to happen with OBS was if you monkeyed at all with the sounds in Windows, it would change the inputs, even though this was on standard. It's been broken in there was a Windows 11 update, wasn't there, 2 days ago? And I've not recorded anything recently. So it's probably that moved all the sliders around. Windows 11 updates quite often have all manner of effects on Windows itself, you know, on the other applications. And sound has been a moving target in Windows for such a long time. You know, to be able to go in here and change devices and other devices or software to be able to say what device they are using. Yeah, apologies for that. So you had no sound from the simulator earlier. You just heard me rabbiting on. To be honest, it could do with being turned down a bit, couldn't it? So it's not quite so noisy. So should we come down another couple of 100 feet? So there's a good point here about the autopilot on the G1000, or all autopilots. Vertical speed is dangerous. Because you have to remember it has no connection to the indicated airspeed. So if you start descending steeply using vertical speed, the aeroplane will end up overspeeding itself unless you act to stop it, or you keep your vertical speed, you know, within sensible limits. That's where flight level change is so useful. So I'll do an example. We'll drop another couple 100 feet, yeah? So we're targeting 3,500 feet at the minute. Let's come back to, it's a good point. We're at 3,500 feet. With the Cessna, we could have done with, if you'd have watched the RPM carefully there, if we'd have gone much higher, it would have started to be affected on a rich mixture. Look at the RPM. So a rich mixture, the RPM is dropping like 2310. If we come back to 50% mixture, or 75%, look at that. 2340 RPM. So obviously it's only on the cusp of it, but as you get higher altitude, the air gets thinner, the fuel isn't burnt as efficiently, so you have to lean out the mixture in the engine. Yes, so anyway, sorry, got sidetracked yet again. Going to drop to 3,300 feet. We're at 3,500 feet. So we'll go flight level change, and nothing's happened. I'll cut the throttle. So the aeroplane will maintain the speed by descending to attain 100 knots in this case. But then you have to be careful, because when we get to 3,300 feet, the aeroplane will level back out, and we haven't increased the throttle, so we have to go and remember to bring the throttle back up. But it's a much safer way of descending, because the plane won't overspeed in the descent. Should we increase the range on this again? So we can see the destination coming in the distance. Let's go a bit more power. And get to about 2,400 RPM will be fine. Should we have a look outside? The great thing, isn't it? As soon as you start getting involved in autopilots and instrument flight, basically, you stop looking outside. And you miss all these wonderful things that we're about to, like this mast that's been modelled. You miss all of this scenery because you're obsessing over the state of the aeroplane and, you know, where you are. Look at that. That's awesome, isn't it? Not so awesome if you hit the mast in the middle of the night, of course. Okay. $16 miles to run. But yeah, so the G1000 in any of the flight sim aircraft is very well done. There's a, I think it was Working Title, is it they're called, that worked on it. So if you go into the flight plan, you can actually program. Notice though, on the primary flight display, you only get a small pop-up for the flight plan. If you've got a two-screen system with a navigation display, so first things first, when you power up the second screen, the engine gauges switch to the second screen. So they would have been on here with everything else initially. Also, if you go to flight plan, you get a much bigger display on the what's called the navigation display, the second screen. So if we pop the yoke off so we can see this. Again, if you normally you would press the FMS button with the left mouse button, or historically that's how it worked. From whatever they've done to it, you have to press both mouse buttons now, and then the focus comes in here and you can go and change the route. Obviously I wouldn't change it on I wouldn't change the route on missions because it'll probably mess them up. But there's a whole world of functionality hidden in here where you can program approaches and standard instrument departures and standard terminal arrival routes, and yeah, you can put into go through airways with transitions onto and off of airways. It can do all of it. You can also change the rendering of the map. So yeah, we could have Navigraph look. So if I go and enable it, we're still 12 miles out. We've got a couple of minutes to do this. I'm just going to go into my phone, which is hopefully going to get enough of the 2D barcode, and sign in to Navigraph as me. I'm just using my mobile phone while I'm talking. There we go. So we've also got built into this, hopefully, show map. Okay, so yeah, it's not got the best chart options. Back. Stars at Reichelsheim, there aren't any. Approaches, none. Info. Info about the airport. So what charts does it have? It doesn't. Okay, that's why it's not coming up with anything. So Navigraph doesn't have everything. It's a bit of a shame. But you can come back out easily enough. That was a bit of a rabbit hole, wasn't it, that didn't lead to anywhere for the moment. Map options. So we can show topo, or relief, or off. So I guess relief will show you anything below your altitude as black, anything that's at or approaching your altitude in green. Or yeah, I think it's green if it's approaching your altitude, and it goes through yellow and then red if it's at your altitude, to warn you. So Phil's saying, on flight level change mode, can you set the speeds? Yeah, you can set the target speed. So we were doing it a moment ago. We're about to descend. We'll have a go with it as we descend in, because hopefully this will come up with a low. If we put a lower height in immediately and say 3,000 feet, say we're going to drop to 3,000, we press FLC, and it measures your target airspeed, the speed you're at. Yeah? We can use the nose up and nose down buttons. You can see the little marker moving there as we press them. So we could say we want to descend at 100 knots, and then we can pull the throttle back. And the plane will try to go steep enough to maintain 100 knots. And obviously it's lagging a little bit. It's gone steeper than it needs to, and then it's down to 3,000 feet already. And there it goes. Look, it's captured the altitude, gone to altitude hold. And then we're back in control of the power again. We need to be mindful of that once you go back to altitude hold. So yes. So Phil's saying you do, yes, in this aeroplane you absolutely do need to drop the throttle. It doesn't have an automatic throttle in this plane, so how's it going to descend without accelerating? So the whole point of flight level change is it's going to safely keep you at the speed you want. Obviously you could, for climb, yeah, it works the same both ways. Your flight level change really means you're controlling climb or descent rate with power to maintain a given airspeed. So Clueless God is saying, have you experienced the heat island bug with the Cessna yet? No, I haven't. I think I've probably got less hours on 2024 than just about anyone else that's played it now. Because literally all I've done is solve problems for other people. I've not actually done much flying around myself at all. The videos you've seen from me are the only times I've been in the sim so far. So I'm going to come off the autopilot now, and we're going to fly our way into Reichelsheim. And we're going to do nice gentle turns. So let me get sat up straight and press Alt and 7 to give myself some head tracking. Press Enter to contact the arrival airport. And we've got a bizarre entry point. It's over here, isn't it?
November Bravo 5 miles west 3000. Fort inbound to land runway 18.
Though from what everybody was saying, we can fly straight across all of this. As long as we don't overfly the airport, we can fly straight through this pattern and just do a gentle turn onto finals. And just ignore their traffic pattern. Absolutely. So which way is the runway? The runway is here. So finals is there. So we're going to ignore it. This is a good test. We're not going to follow the traffic pattern because I don't think it tests you for it. As long as we don't overfly the airport, we can go wherever we want. So we'll stay away. We'll do right pattern in. Or pattern-ish. Yeah, so we're going to ignore their wacky entry pattern where they've got this crazy teardrop outside of the pattern, and we're going to come back in our own way. As long as we hit the final marker, we'll be fine. We've got low fuel showing. So obviously as we descend we need to go back to rich fuel below 3,000 feet. So we're going to do a big arcing turn to maintain. This is a cargo flight, isn't it? We've got a load of Amazon boxes in the back, I think. Or did we? Or was this just delivering an aeroplane this time? I don't remember. Maybe, or unless they've fallen out. I've lost track of what flights we've done now. Maybe this was just delivering an aeroplane. So we're going to fly a big arcing circle round towards the final marker. So we're then lined up with the runway at the right kind of altitude and the right kind of speed, rather than fly round and round in circles on the traffic pattern. So we're just bleeding off some speed and some altitude. Let's get within flaps range so we can control the descent easily. There we go. We're a little bit slow.
500.
So is it going to improve the resolution of the runway anytime soon?
X-ray. Golf November Bravo is on final runway 18 to land.
So flaps up. Yeah, strobes off, landing lights off, that's good.
Echo Delta Foxtrot Bravo traffic Cessna Lima X-ray. Golf November Bravo is taxiing to parking.
So, just reading Pedro's comment there about the little bit of a tutorial I did there on the Autopilot. If you go and search my channel, I've got full rundowns on radio navigation, GPS navigation, the G1000 radio suite, the GNS 530, the GNS 430, all the way up to things like the Boeing 737 navigation computer, the Airbus MCDU, you know, how to program even the big jets. The only one I'm waiting for it to reappear in 2024 so I can do it properly is the INS navigation computer in the 727, which is a very different animal. But it's got a really nicely done simulation of it. But they changed it mid-life. When in its first iteration, you had to program longitudes and latitudes in it. I hope these bumps aren't going to break the aeroplane. Is it going to ground the prop? Oh! Yeah, they changed the navigation computer programming in the 727 mid-life, in not long after the airplane came out, from putting longitudes and latitudes in as seconds to degrees, minutes, seconds, which changed the story, obviously. So, let's do the lights first, because we know the airplane is going to go and end the flight as soon as we starve the engine of fuel. Yeah, there it goes, look, so we don't get a chance to go and do it. We really should have gone and turned the mags off and the electric off. It's a bit better. I got done for taxi speeding, which took 10% off. We went like 2 knots over the speed limit on the taxiway on departure. That's annoying. And but we did get 99% on. That'll be because of the heavy landing, I guess. It was heavier than it needed to be. So is the fly-by-wire A320 working? I'm not sure. I've not checked. Like I said, you guys have probably had loads more time in the sim than I have so far. I made 5,600 credits that time. Mission reward, whatever that means. Oh, I've gone straight to level 18. What does that mean? Does that mean I get anything? Nope. But I've got 8,000 credits now. Can I go and buy anything with those? 15,000 for that. 5,000 for a tail wheel endorsement. 10,000 for an instrument rating. 7.5 for a night rating. Is it worth having it yet? It's a dead end, isn't it, in terms of career progression? Probably, and so's that. Probably better off saving to get the access to more things. So one more mission and then we'll call it quits for today. So missions are repopulating on the map as we speak. If we pull up the mission list, you can see what amounts are available for each mission. Where's one worth like 30,000? 4,300, that's not bad. That's cargo transport. Oh, there's one there for 5,200. Commodity, again, cargo transport. Is it far? Oh, it's a long one. 110 miles. So, accept. And hit fly. So make sure all of my controls are back in the starting positions. We're in our friendly old Cessna yet again. Probably shifting cardboard boxes yet again. I forgot to change his clothes, didn't I? He'd probably be a bit smelly by now. Okay, let's go and do our walk around checks, such as they are. Turn the head tracking off to get the airplane ready. So batteries on, alternators on, fuel tanks both. Shut off is in. Mixture to rich. Crack the throttle open. Turn the mags to both and then start. We have an engine. Oh, I didn't have the beacon light on.
Heidi. Now that you're all set up, let me go over the important details with you.
Put the nav light on as well.
You're carrying bulk cargo on this flight. Standard shipment for our partner based in Hunks, but super important. You must reach Schwartz Heidi ASAP. Sensitive cargo containers are designed to withstand turbulence, but keep a steady flight speed and adjust accordingly. A timely and secure delivery will ensure that everyone is satisfied.
It's Amazon again, isn't it?
All relevant information is in your flight packet, which is uploaded on your map as a reference. Here's to a successful flight.
So, if I put the avionics on now, the navigation screen will come up and we can log in. We've already got our flight plan across the map there. So what else do we need to do? Taxi lights on. Sit up a little bit using the keyboard. I'm just using mouse controls at the moment. So if we go and announce taxi and the arrows have appeared.
Sierra Hotel Traffic Cessna Oscar. India Echo Alpha is taxiing to runway 14L.
Okay, we've got head tracking on as well now, so I can sit up to see over the front of the Cessna. And here comes a kamikaze car to wipe out our starboard wing. Let's be careful not to get done for taxi speeding this time. Anything above walking space, the sim really doesn't... Walking pace even, the sim doesn't like. Although we're going to clout the wing on the buildings at this rate. I might want to see this from outside. I'm guessing, is he going to move? Or do we have to just drive through him? I think we just drive through him. Thankfully buildings don't cause collisions, sorry, vehicles don't cause collisions. So we'll pass through him. And neither do aeroplanes at the moment, which is good, otherwise we would not be getting out of here today. You can hit buildings with your aircraft though, so I'm just keeping my wing away from the edges of the buildings. So I think the Cessna will leave a trail in the grass, won't it? It's one of the new aeroplanes. Look at the grass moving behind us with the thrust of the propeller. Yeah, look, we're leaving 3 lines in the grass. Very cool. I love that it does that. It doesn't leave it for very long. Oh, I say that, Leah, you can see it's just trailing away now. It's still good fun though. Okay, so we're taking off on this left-hand side.
Echo Bravo Sierra Hotel, traffic Cessna Oscar Oscar. India Echo Alpha, taking off runway 14L departure to the north.
Before we go, let's go and get the landing lights on and the strobe lights on and the pitot heat on. Put the yoke back on for the moment. If we wanted to be really super clever about this, we can go and set the heading bug, but we'll be doing a left turn immediately, I imagine. Don't need flaps. So full throttle. Look at the daisies. They need to cut their grass. 20 knots, 30 knots, 40 knots, 50 knots, and gently rotate. Again, the weather, I pressed comma earlier. We're still at 2992, so it's preset weather during missions by the look of it. So we're looking for about 70 knots on the climb out. So I'm just dipping the nose gently to get some more speed. 2,300 feet we're looking for on the initial climb. So in terms of protecting the cargo, we ignore the boxes. We just do nice gentle, we minimize G loading basically. So you can see there's the GPS track is to our left. We're obviously to the right of the track already because it takes no account of the takeoff climb out. So once we get going the right sort of direction, we'll get the autopilot on. So we're climbing out to 3,300 feet. A nice gentle turn. We'll sort out trimming the elevator in a moment. And then 109 miles of flying in a dead straight line. So continue climbing. So even though these boxes say this altitude, look, they're actually asking us to fly at 3,300 feet. So while we're climbing gently, let's go and set that up. So there's 3,000. 3,300 feet set as a target. So we'll set the heading bug to go the same direction we are. We'll preset heading mode. Autopilot isn't on yet, remember. We'll go for vertical speed. And then let's turn the autopilot on now. And it should just take us up there. Let's see if we've got any wind while we're doing it. So, wind. is 0 knots again. So I think these early training missions, there is no live weather then. So we're up to cruise altitude. As soon as you hit cruise, look, it starts playing the music again. So now we're cruising, we can pull the throttle back. About 2400 RPM will be enough. 2450, a bit high. Obviously, if you've got a pilot operating handbook for the Cessna, it's probably looking for 2300 in the cruise or something around that, not 24. But I don't think this is going to complain. If we wanted to follow the GPS track, what we would do is just move this to put ourselves on an intercept course with it. And you can see that happening over here. We're coming back towards the track. And then when we get close enough, we'll go to nav mode. But I would be inclined, if we're playing silly games with this, of not jogging the cargo, we'll use heading mode and just edge it back towards it before we go to nav mode. Otherwise, the aeroplane on the autopilot could swing violently left or right. Or not violently, but more than for this ridiculous cargo mission that it will score us down for. So the CDI should start moving in fairly soon. If we go and zoom in over here, you can see us travelling. We're travelling straight up the display, remember. So we are getting closer to the track. We could increase that. So if we take ourselves to a northerly direction, just gently. So we're coming in at a 30-degree angle towards the GPS track. To be honest, we could do a direct 2 and it wouldn't hurt it, I don't think. I think the flight plan in here, that's a good point actually. Let's try that, just out of interest. So if we just edge this back towards the direction we're going. Let's see if it will hurt it. So I'm going to turn head tracking off. This is me taking a hit for the team in case this goes wrong. We've pressed the flight plan button so we can see where we're going. So RW runway 08 to Echo Delta Lima Delta. So there's a button over here with an arrow with a D. It means direct to. So we want to go direct to EDLD. See, it's saying runway 08, but we don't want to do that much of it. So we can click the keyboard and then we can type EDLD and then press enter and activate, and it will go direct. So it's now plotted from where we are straight to that airport in the distance. So then we just go nav mode. Because the CDI was already in the middle, it's not going to lurch one side or the other. So our GPS plot is now straight to the other airport. So when we get closer, we'll just fly into the boxes and hope they still... Although we know we just have to come in runway 08. So we'll be heading for finals when we get anywhere near. Okay, so we're going to fly in the direction of the airport and then we'll come off autopilot obviously and just put the aeroplane in a nice smooth arc onto the runway as we did previously. If you really want to cheat and start, well not cheat, if you want to use proper GPS type instruments as you might have on a tablet in an aeroplane, if we go and open LittleNavMap, we can do this with Navigraph or LittleNavMap. We'll go and find out where we are. And we're going towards ED... what was it called? We can find out on here, can't we? EBSH to EDLD. So you can go to flight plan and you can actually type it in. EDSH to EDLB. Just check that was right. to EDLB. And we can create that flight plan and close, and that's the direct line flight plan. So that's where we're going to. If we go and have a look at this, so runway 08 is marked as 07 here. That's not unusual because of the variation of magnetic compass directions. So magnetic fields are not constant over many years. So yeah, when we get into this area somewhere close to the airport, we'll just reacquire the boxes enough for it to trigger the approach. It would be interesting to get there outside of the boxes to see if it's triggered by distance. Because you don't get marked down for not being in the boxes, so I imagine it's going to trigger by distance. So once we get to kind of 10 miles out, we need to worry about where we are. Okay, I'm just going to step away for a few minutes while we're flying along, and I'll see you in a minute.
We're plugging in the lines.
Before it freezes.
Yeah. Well,
Right, I'm back. You can speed up time when doing missions. I'm about to do exactly that. I'm just reading the live stream comments there. So Alt R 1, 2, 3, and we've sped up time. So we'll count down the miles until we get to Schwarzheide, or Heide, is it? So yeah, just reading Clueless God's comment there. I can see the point of the career mode. It's a little bit pointless, but it's something to do, isn't it? I wish that the procedural side was tightened up, but maybe there will be an extension to it with like a pro level or something where the lights and the engine condition and 100 other things are checked, and especially with the heavies. So so you're not overspeeding the undercarriage, and I don't know. There's all sorts of things that could be checked on the big aircraft. So out of the box, the speed up control, you hold Alt and R down, and then you use plus and minus, but you have to remember how many times you've pressed them, because it has no way of telling you what rate you are at. So I held Alt and R down and then pressed plus 3 times. So I'm going to have to remember to hold Alt and R down and press minus 3 times to slow myself down again. One way of telling what rate you are at is to look at the clock. So if you look at the counting of seconds on the clock, and you can figure out if you are speeded up or not. 60 miles to run. Interesting. So Clueless God is saying once you have a fleet in career mode, you have other pilots to worry about. I have a funny story about that. When we rolled out PHP VMS, is it called, the airline software for Virtual Flight Online, I added a load of extras to it to do modelling of damage and monetary cost, related to damage across the fleet. So aircraft, you have specific airframes, and somebody doing a heavy landing, for example, or overstressing it in flight would cause that aircraft or that airframe to go into service after the flight to be repaired. Unfortunately, the way the software was built is to release it from repair, or to action the repairs, had to be done manually. You had to go and release the airframes. So very quickly I found myself with 25 or 30 airframes every night in service. So the hangars were absolutely full of busted airplanes. And after about 5 nights I went and disabled it and just let people smash the planes up, and the airline took no notice. Because it was just within days I just got really fed up of always releasing airplanes from service, where people couldn't do a single flight without absolutely wrecking their aeroplanes. I'm not saying everybody was doing it, but a worrying number of people were. But now the career mode's here, I'm not so sure that there's a space for virtual airlines to exist much anymore. The airline is still there. It's a bit of a hassle to try and use it at the moment, obviously because Flight Sim haven't released public access to the airport database yet. So, products that use, or products that were scraping the database, and there's no better word for it, from Flight Simulator by reading the BGL files, they were all dead in the water with the arrival of 2024. Or for use with 2024 anyway, unless they had previous data. So people using LittleNavMap like myself, we have lucked into it because we previously had 2020 installed on the same machine. Therefore, we still had our previous scraping of the scenery data. So we're getting ready to... I've just pressed Alt R and minus 3 times, so we're back in real time, and we can count the seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003. Yeah, we're back in real time. So I have no idea where we are. Let's have a look on the map. We are approaching Borkenberg, and we are off to the left. Have we put the wrong airport in here? Or we... We are on GPS track mode. Schwarzheide. EDLD. Oh, I've got the wrong airport over here. That should have been EDLD. So in LittleNavMap we can do that really easily. Airports. EDLD. Set that as our destination instead. There we go. That makes a lot more sense. So we want to be going out towards that Urkum waypoint really, but what we'll do is just we'll ignore this and see. It'll be interesting, like I said, to see if this is triggered by distance. So let's go Alt R 1, 2, 3. So I've accelerated us again. Where does the top of descent turn out to be then? That's going to be about 8 miles, isn't it, by the time we get there, I reckon. Which is about ILS distance, top of the feathers. But that would be 2,500 feet. Above ground level. Ah, I wonder what altitude the airport's at. So 8.5 miles to run. Well, that might be about 7 miles actually. But let's see, if we stay away from the rectangles and see at what point this starts to notice that we're close enough. We could start descending, couldn't we? So if we go and set our target to 2,500 feet, vertical speed, nose down. We'll just come down at say 500 feet a minute. Keep an eye on the indicated airspeed, maybe pull the throttle back a little bit. So 7 miles, is it triggered yet? Nope. Maybe it's 5 miles. So Maga's saying the GPS path does not match the blue path. It doesn't have to. This is just a guide. As I think as someone else was saying, this is really a guide for people who couldn't find their backside with both hands. No, it's just a guide through the sky to fly through in case you've never navigated. So, you know, if you don't understand the compass, you can fly through the boxes. But again, the entire traffic pattern, although it's trying to instill good practices, appears that it's not necessary at all. So I think when we get close enough... Oh, is this going to do an overhead? Is that what it was designed to do? If it ever catches up with me. Whoa. Oh, of course it's dropped the plan, hasn't it? Because I did a direct 2. So this really will be fascinating because it's now... Has it still got it? Oh, it has still got it. So it was planning to do an overhead join. So it probably won't tell us about final until we're overhead. So we'll fly straight over... Oh no, it's doing it. Let's see. So we may be able to turn up. We can.
Echo Delta Lima Delta traffic Cessna.
So come off the autopilot.
India Echo Alpha 5 miles southwest 2500. Forward inbound to land runway 08.
So we'll ignore the traffic pattern completely because it doesn't mark us down for it. Press Alt and 7 to get my head tracking back. So I'm extending the flaps already because they'll allow us to descend because they give us some drag. Got the lights on already. We should have turned the landing lights off, but it doesn't mark us down for that, thankfully. So where we would have done this if we followed the rectangles, there's nothing to stop us going straight through finals, but I'm going to fly an arc to come through finals on a nice gentle turn towards finals. So I think the waypoints are the trigger points then, but there's obviously a distance involved because we weren't near the rectangles on approach. So it appeared to be somewhere around 5 or 6 miles outside of the airport. It triggered the radio communication for finals. Or for approach, sorry. We can already see the puppy lights, that's the 4 lights alongside the runway. So 4 white lights means we're too high at this altitude. So we can descend further. And completely ignore the boxes. Now we know that we don't have to use them. And that box is going to get right in our way. I have to tilt my head more than I need to, just to move it out of my way. We're still too high, look, so the boxes are actually too high. I noticed this the very first training flight I did. So we've got 1 red now, we want 2 reds and 2 whites on the puppy lights, which means we're in the correct vertical position. There we go, 2 reds, 2 whites. So if we can try and maintain that, so looking at the orientation of the runway to us, if we can maintain that same sort of shape, if we get 3 reds we've gone too low, if we get 3 whites we've gone too high. We're descending a bit at the moment, so we need to be careful on airspeed. Look, we're getting a bit slow. Don't want to go and risk getting into stall speed warnings, because that will probably take 10% off of our performance. So we've gone too high, look. 3 whites, back into the appropriate approach angle. Going to speed up a bit more, getting slow again. Because I put an extra step of flaps in, a bit more drag obviously, so it's giving us more lift, which has lifted us high on the glide slope. If it complains about that landing, I will not be happy. So it wants us to carry on, not go for the first exit. So flaps are back up. Let's turn off the head tracking so we can easily go and switch switches as we get off the runway to go and turn the lights off, even though it doesn't mark that. It's just following good practice, really. So we've stopped at the hold short. The landing lights and strobe lights come off. Announce taxi to parking. I have pressed enter. Is it going to react? Let's press it again. Press enter again. Okay, it's not reacting to me pressing enter. Wonderful. So I'll get a penalty for this probably. Can I do it from outside maybe? What is wrong with it? I'm stuck here now. Maybe I need to be moving. Oh, forget it. If I press Alt and N, it will end the flight. So it broke. Oh, we could have done an announce via ATC chat. At least we'll shut down properly, hey? So, lights come off. Beacon stays on until we shut the engine. P8 is already off. Pull the fuel first. Then the mags, and then it's going to lift us out of the cockpit before we can turn the batteries off, which is great. Procedures. because I didn't announce, because the sim broke and wouldn't let me. But as someone said in the live stream chat, I could have done it via the comms panel. But we still got the money. So I've got 14,000 in the bank now, which means I can do something maybe, who knows. 15,000 to go and get a multi-engine. Oh, that's annoying, isn't it? But I can get to the same route by a cheaper, yeah. If I go via instrument rating, I wonder though if you have to get multi-engine to go and get some of the later stuff. So I can get a commercial pilot license. Should we just go and take the exam? See what happens. What are we going to be flying? Oh, it's a Cessna 172. What a surprise. So we're going to go... So, okay, this is instrument flight rules. That's fine. So we're going to be following waypoints with the autopilot. Do we have to program the flight plan ourselves, or is it all going to be done for us? Oh, it's starting us in the air. Interesting.
I know that this weather can look daunting, but you will be able to perform your approach by relying on your aircraft's instruments, just like you did in your training.
I didn't do the training, but I'm going to...
India Echo Alpha, your transponder appears inoperative or malfunctioning. Reset. Squawk Tree 125.
I'm going to need to code 3, 2, 1, 5.
Cessna India Echo Alpha.
Oh, 3125, sorry.
Squawk Tree 125.
There we go. We should be flying towards EVTEP.
Cessna India Echo Alpha, please expedite your descent 2,100 feet.
Can do that. So we just need to fly. We'll hand fly it for a bit of fun. So we're going to be flying blind using instruments, which is absolutely fine. 2,100 feet. Should we change? Oh, they've probably pre-tuned this in, haven't they, for the ILS, which is why it's already in lock mode. Whoa, we wanted 2,100 feet, didn't we? I was busy looking at the radio then. Didn't realise we'd already come down to 2,100. There we go. Let's trim the elevators out so we don't have to keep holding pressure. There we go. And it's trying to roll left all the time, so a bit of aileron trim as well. So we just come past EVTEP, fly to PB271. So we turn right. If we change the CDI mode, it will tell us what to do. There we go. So it tells you direction and where you are relative to the track. So we just need to hold 2,100 feet. We could do this with the autopilot, of course. So if we go altitude 2,100. If we go altitude hold on here and nav mode and autopilot on, we don't have to actually fly the airplane. Obviously it's going to straighten us up onto the track, which is fine. So we'll just program the autopilot all the way in and do what they tell us, which is fine. This is This is more fun actually for me than doing VFR circuits. But Dark Dodger's complaining about the payment. They're paying us in credits. How do you know that one credit isn't worth £1,000? And a Cessna doesn't cost millions. A second-hand Cessna you can probably get for about £70,000 or £80,000, can't you? Or $100,000, something like that. Depends on how old it is and what it's got in it, basically, and what its service history is and what condition it's in. But a really good one, you're probably looking at 150 maybe, with all the toys in it. Again, it depends what you're buying. So we're just flying along 100 knots-ish at the commanded altitude-ish, so it's sort of on track. Fly to
You
Sunburn.
can switch back to visual flight rules before landing. Identifying the runway lights should help you during the transition.
So this should turn left any moment. There it goes. So we're just sticking to the GPS track. Is this going to tell us to descend, is the next question.
Cessna India Echo Alpha, you are 11 miles east of Sunburn. Contact tower on 118. 25 when inbound. Tower on 118. 25 Cessna India Echo Alpha. Tower Cessna Oscar Oscar. India Echo Alpha 10 miles east inbound RNAV runway 9er approach circle to land runway 24. Cessna Oscar Oscar India Echo Alpha Tower QNH 101 tree cleared RNAV runway 9er approach.
So we've got time here. I want to go and check something.
9er approach Cessna India Echo Alpha.
Sunbra, RNAV 09 approach. Okay, so we're going to have a look on here. So EGPB, we're going to pull up Navigraph and go and have a look at the RNAV 09. So what was it? EGPB. So select EGPB, add to route. Runways 09, add to route, approaches RNAV 09, add to route, there's the official, that's the real thing. So how far away are we? Let's increase the range again. Yeah, this is just made up rubbish. So we will be coming in from the west. And we're coming in from the east. So let's turn this back around just so it makes more sense to us. So if we go menu and map settings and orientation north up, press enter and then clear this off the screen. So yeah, we're coming in from here, look. So let's also go and change the map. So map options. Topo. It's interesting that it's got all this blue on it. It's showing terrain, isn't it? Okay, it's water. Of course it is. Oh, Sunbra is up in the southern end of the Orkneys, isn't it? I should know this. I've been here recently.
Echo Alpha Wind 271 at 12. Cleared to land runway 24. Cleared to land runway 24.
Does that
Cessna
mean-
India Echo Alpha.
Does that mean our approach into 09 has just gone out the window? Because that would mean descending now. It's just given us exactly the opposite. What on earth? So we're going to stay above 2,000 feet because I think 1,500 feet would be pattern altitude. And if we're flying IFR, we don't want to get into that. Although it said we were VFR once we get closer, so I wonder if the cloud layer has been engineered such that this just gave us... That makes no sense. The sim just told us we were clear 2-4. Which makes no sense. Seeing as there's a 2-7. I think it's lost its mind. We'll carry on with the RNAV 09, shall we? So at the moment it's saying fly to Simbrief. So we'll fly over. Actually, let's do this a slightly different way then. If it's expecting 09, the proper way, we should really be heading for Tysev. So going to LPAP maybe and coming down. But not doing this wacky route that they've engineered. So what's this going to do? This is going to take us out. Is it going to go left here? It's difficult to see, isn't it? What they've engineered. No, it's just saying land on runway. Okay. So let's turn the autopilot off. Because they told us to come in this side. The last instruction the ATC gave us was not runway 09. It was, I'm sure it said 24, but there's only a 27. So I'm going to drop down below the cloud layer. We can cheat on this. I don't know if you've seen this. There's the terrain. We've turned terrain on the synthetic display, so we can see through the cloud. Oh, the wonders of modern avionics. We've just cheated. Well, not cheated, but there's the runway look. Full flaps. We'll hop. We can side slip as well. Which will hold our speed. So we're full left rudder, a little bit of right aileron. And we're descending like an elevator towards the runway with zero visibility outside. Holding the velocity vector on the runway apron, which you can see coming out of the darkness below us. There it is, look. Oh, the wonders of modern avionics, eh? Let's turn head tracking on so I can lean out. Straighten the airplane up. Oh, there's a bit of a crosswind going on. I think we might get told off for that.
Alpha contact, ground on 118. 255.
I might need a shovel first to pull bits of landing gear out of the runway.
Going to 118, 255 Cessna India Echo Alpha.
I think I might get told off for having put the airplane into the ground at about 700 feet a minute. If not more. I did more of an F-18 style landing than a, whoa, we're going to go outside the box. Just. Alt-N, I've had enough of this. Wait for engine shutdown, done.
Good job. You've passed the test. There's a few areas where you could improve, but that was a solid performance.
It was a solid landing. I got a B after nearly crashing the plane into the runway. Oh my word. Respect flight plan altitudes. Well, I thought I did. I may not have, the landing rate may not have been perfect, but I've passed. Oh my word. And I've got 4,000 quid left or 4,000 credits left in the bank. That's funny. How much is it to go and get jet? Oh, 30,000? Really? 20,000 for a turboprop? They're having a laugh. Well, I hope the missions get better returns once you've got all these different ratings. Let's have a look. So I can now do private charters. Oh, maybe the money goes up. Your level allows you to access a new difficulty level. Ooh. Does that mean bad weather, maybe? Or more dangerous airports? Yeah, it's island airports. So a VIP trip. Taking investment bankers to tax havens, maybe. Live missions unlocked. Oh, great. We can have live weather.
You now have access to real condition missions. These allow you to scroll back up to 24 hours to fly in real-world weather conditions over the past day.
So you can choose the worst possible. So you get sick bags at the ready. This slider allows you to access a 24-hour historical record. That's quite clever, isn't it? Next. Use menu scroll left, menu scroll right, adjust the slider and see what career missions are available at different times. Ah. So if I go...
Adjusting the time slider will reveal a variety of different missions only available in specific weather and lighting conditions. It seems like this mission has different weather conditions than usual. For now, check the weather conditions, also known as METR TAF, carefully when selecting a mission.
METR.
IFR icon means you will have to
METR, I think he meant.
Condition. But there is also MVFR icon and LIFR icon.
So MVFR and LIFR.
A warning icon means this mission is not recommended under the current
weather. Oh, but they're the
Fly
ones to do then. Can you get life insurance policies in the game? That's funny, isn't it? Okay, so having said that, I'm not going to go do a mission right now, but if we open the mission list, can we get some really high scoring missions in terms of credits? No, not really. 3,500. 1,400. There's still nothing like, we want a 10,000 credit mission, don't we? Looks like an awful lot of grinding now to get to anything further, which is a real shame. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm kind of done for today. I could do with some free flights. But should we go and change my uniform? I'll do it while you guys are watching, because why not? Customize identity. Warning, you can't modify the character. Oh, I have to go all the way back out. Main menu. Why have the button there then? If you can't use it. You can't ever tell that I get involved in user interface designer work, can you? So there's my numpty at the moment. Appearance. Should we change my face? Do they actually make... That's a bit more like me, I suppose. I'm a bit older than that, though. There's no kind of middle-aged, boring white guy faces, are there? Oh, that's a bit more like it, I suppose. Well, I don't know. Disgruntled. We want cynical. They should be labelled, shouldn't they, with their character? Cynical, disgruntled, old so-and-so. He looks like he's got PTSD. Looks like he's been scared significantly by something in the recent past. They are great though, aren't they? It's a shame you can't design the faces. Why they've just got presets and no designer is a bit of a mystery to me. Because nobody else can see your people anyway. He looks like a bit of a so-and-so. Oh, I don't know. He looks scared as well. They've all got a look of fright about them, haven't they? They look like, some of them look like they've been upset by somebody. Oh, I don't know who to choose. Not that it makes any difference whatsoever to the simulator. Let's go back up to the top and pick. He looks like he's about 12. Yeah, I'll just go with that one. Body. So, yeah, it's about right, I guess. It's just going to be like Mr. Universe on the far side. I went for a hat, so I don't have to have hair, because my hair would just be short anyway, but they haven't, I don't think you've got much around that, so you could have a crash helmet. Does that mean you bought one from the Army surplus store, even though you're flying a 152, maybe? No, I'll just go with the headset. You can have a posh headset, though. Oh, actually, it's not, is it? It's a retro headset. This is the back of the police catalogue, where it costs more than your house for the headset. Glasses are... Shall I get shades instead of reading glasses? Because I've actually got reading glasses, which are exactly this shape. These are the Specsavers ones. They've obviously done a deal with them. But you can get shade versions of them. I guess you get aviators over here. And look like a cool dude. Tops. Can we get something thoroughly inappropriate? Oh, the anorak. He could stand outside the aeroplane with his notebook, writing down the flight number. Or pretend, as we're going up in the world slowly, doesn't go with our trousers, does it? We ought to have proper trousers with that to look like a proper pilot. And maybe black shoes, just to complete the boring look. And we ought to get a sensibly attired co-pilot if we're going to be a professional pilot from now on. As we go up the ranks, which one should we pick? This one?
Entering spray zone, guys. Adjusting altitude for optimal coverage.
Oh, they have different voices.
Rotate at VR. Positive rate.
Well, that's the same
Cabin
girl with
crew,
the different
please
hairdo.
prepare the cabin for landing.
Visual on runway. Prepare for landing.
Oh, I'll go with that one.
Ladies
Save them
and
back.
gentlemen, we've begun our descent to destination.
There we go. I love the comment there. Looks like they weren't impressed by launch day. So, Enigma says, are they all female? No, there's a huge mixture of races and sexes and nationalities that you could apply to. They've put a really good mix of faces in there. I'm super impressed with it, to be honest. I know I'm being flippant and, questioning it, but I think it's actually really good. I've not actually looked at that logbook. So, let's have a look. Oh, yeah, look, 128 flights, but how many of those? 3 minutes? 4 minutes? 4 minutes? 1 minute? 1.5 minutes that one lasted? Or is it hours? That can't be hours, can it? Or maybe it is. No, because look, that one's 42. And there's no way I've done a 42-hour flight. 56-minute flight. So where are the ones with any hours? So 1 hour 10 there. There seems to be a lot missing. How strange. Stats. I haven't looked at any of this since I installed it. Done no photo objectives. I've done some ferry flights. It's all a bit random, isn't it? Number of failed landings. Is that a friendly term for crashes? Because I did have a go at one of the high-speed challenges in the league, a low-level one, and it turns out the clipping area around the airplane isn't great. You can hit trees when you're nowhere near them. So it's a bit of a lottery about how low you can fly. And the velocity vector in the F-18 isn't accurate either, which makes it even more problematic. Is the marketplace up and running yet? Nope. Although you can chuck stuff in the community folder. I've not looked at photographer at all yet. I know if you press Shift Z, I think it is, when you're in the airplane, it opens up the camera dialog. Or no, Shift Z is slew, isn't it? Is it Shift X? Is the camera dialog something like that? To be honest, a lot of the reason for the short flights is me trying things out like the Tobii settings and flicking backwards and forwards between being in the airplane and going back through the menus or rebooting the sim or trying things out, trying to fix things or investigating if things are working correctly. So, as I said, I haven't actually got that many flight hours in the game compared to a lot of people. I've just been experimenting with it so far. And done a few live streams, done a few startup procedures, which is probably why there's not many flights showing up in there. Because I've walked through but not completed flights, and I don't think it goes in the logbook unless you complete it. You know, unless you land and turn the airplane off. Which is why it's showing such a low number of flights. Because quite often I'm just doing enough for a video recording and then shutting the sim down. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you've enjoyed following me along through some of the missions today. We learnt quite a lot, didn't we, about what you can get away with and what it counts. So that whole pattern entry is rubbish, and you can just deviate. As long as you come through the final waypoint at an appropriate altitude, then that's fine. We did see on the IFR flight, it changed its plan 180. So it was telling us about RNAV 09 for Sombra on approach, or sorry, on arrival, and then when we got near to approach, it's changed its mind and went for the runway 09 and just told us to land. It also told us quite scarily it was VFR once we got anywhere near approach, which was rubbish because it was restricted visibility all the way in. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it. But yeah, it was fascinating. Obviously, we knew that we have all the toys on the Cessna to land in zero visibility very easily. So, it was fun. Anyway, I'm going to go make a coffee and I'll see you all again soon. Take care.